ードどうかした？
Final Fantasy fans have finally won in the case of Square Enix and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, the continuation of the remake of the original Final Fantasy game, the best one from the 1990s, and people have been having their trepidation with this game associating with certain consultancy firms like Sweetbaby Inc. that have a tendency of altering and changing the games completely that they consult on, whether it comes with the progressive social initiatives and politics that are inserted in, and that seems to be not the case with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, as people are saying it's a return to form to the things that they wanted to see in the Final Fantasy series. Even though Final Fantasy VII Remake was just as good and applauded, I think people had some trepidations with some minor changes they made into that series. But for me, myself, I thought it was still a competent remake. I enjoyed it, but I think people had trepidation that, okay, we've seen what's been happening with all these other games in the video game industry, where we had these consultancy firms, these westernized consultancies firms that are trying to push these progressive political agendas in these games, and it seems like that's not the case with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where they stuck to what they wanted to do with this game and inserted the elements of Final Fantasy that people have wanted to see. And of course, Tifa is back in her original glory, as her dress was done in a different way. In the first one, people were going to say it's just she wore a tight bra or something, but now we get the Tifa that we expected to see from the original one, kind of presenting herself in the way that fans wanted. It shows that Square Enix is keeping solid to the original roots of the game. I think that's the thing people have wanted to see, and I think they stuck to it in this game, and the reviews are just showing in and of itself that this is not only just overall aesthetics, it's based on the gameplay, the storytelling, everything combined. It has been neatly mixed in that it's pleasing the entire fan base, because it's focusing on bringing in the content people actually have wanted to see with this remake, and the alterations are not too bad in and of itself. I think I had some trepidations about some of the alterations they did in the first one. It was still a great game, but I really was scared of Sweetbaby Inc. maybe getting involved with this game. We saw their involvement where Forspoken was made into an absolutely terrible disaster of a game that almost put Square Enix in a bad position, at least economically, and I think we expected that same consequence, but that seems to be not the case with Final Fantasy VII. They seem to have avoided some of the mishaps and mistakes they made with Forspoken, and they are doing something that is being lauded as a triumph in video gaming, and making a remake that is near perfect or even better than the original. And I think this is getting me excited to get involved with this game. I'm probably going to play the remake before I play this game, but I'm hyped for it, and I think this is a prime example of giving the fans what they actually want. It seems like they did exactly that with the representation of some of the female characters, where they went out of the way to show we hold true to the elements of the game. I know people were complaining about it, but we actually have those elements still there. I think having that steadfast, the original mentality of the game, and put it into a space where it's able to be actually the spiritual successor of the 1990s original one, I think that is just bringing it to a space where people are just gonna praise it in such a way where it is going to reach these heights where the reviewers are being super positive about it. And I think it probably expanded upon it as well, and this is bringing up the idea that some of these changes they're making, if they're done well, can be done in an excellent way. I think I have another experience with that with Avatar The Last Airbender, where I thought that the changes they made to Sokka were going to be terrible, but I enjoyed the changes they made, and it made sense to me. I think that is the case here with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Even though I haven't played it myself, just reading all the reviews and some of the responses from people, it seems like they stayed true to what they originally wanted, and they may have edited out small things here or there that they did in the remake as well. I know people were mad about a scene about Tifa's underwear or something. I didn't really care about that. Some of the things just are not going to hit as funny as they did back then, and some of the things they took out weren't funny at all in the past. The game was great regardless, so nothing is missing with some of these elements being gone, and I think that's the case here. But of course, it was always the number one complainer when it comes to any video game release, and that being Kotaku, which is complaining like, what is wrong with these new Square Enix games? Why they have to be so long? And this comes down to the game journalists themselves that really don't want to play games. They're here to be activists. They're not here to actually play games. So when you give them a game to play, they just complain about it. I think that's what you get consistently with Kotaku writers, where they're like, oh, I have to play this game. I don't want to play games. I want to talk about my political ideological stances on the current crises in America. I'm like, this is a video game. This is your job. Stick to it, play it, and actually see if you have enjoyment in it. But this review of Final Fantasy saying, why is it so long? I don't want to play it. They should make it shorter. These Japanese games need to be shorter. Why do all these Japanese games need to be long? And it's just showing that person that hasn't played any Japanese games. Japanese games are long. They're there for exploration, doing side quests. You don't have to do the side quests. It will be a shorter game. But if you're interested in doing the side quests, it's going to take you hundreds of hours to beat this game. So that's just the way they develop games. For them not to have adapted to that or even recognize that, it just shows that these are inexperienced gamers, or at most gamers that play mobile games. They're not actual gamers that play console games, that played since the 90s or 2000s or anything like that have experience with these older games. And it's just showing their true colors that they're not really gamers, these journalists. I think this article right here from Kotaku, people are ratioing it, they're just complaining like, why are you playing games if you're complaining about the length? This is that game that's built for length, and you can avoid the side quests. But he's just wants Japanese entertainment to change their whole style for his taste, so he can have a shorter review cycle where he can spend 5 hours to review it and he can throw the game away because he hates games. And that is just showing clearly through the journalists that they don't really want to play the game. They want short games so they can review pretty quickly and they don't have to spend time and effort playing something they hate, which is all video games. And that's clearly the case here. But I think in the end, with Final Fantasy VII, we won as fans. I think I expected maybe some little changes here or there. I was hoping they didn't change a lot of the female characters. That seems to be the focus in Western development sphere, changing, uglifying characters, removing the overall femininity of the characters. But that's not the case with Final Fantasy VII. They kept all those elements and people are enjoying it. I think that is the thing I'm looking forward to, that they kept some of those feminine elements. They kept the aesthetics, the feminine beauty of a lot of the characters, Tifa and Aerith, and they still have that dynamic. None of their personalities changed to abrasive, annoying character. And I think that is the thing I liked about the remake. They didn't change the personalities, and I like that they kept the overall feminine aesthetic in this sequel right here, and it's making me excited to play it. Sony's done a good job. Square Enix didn't mess this up like Forspoken. It seems obviously they had a different team and different guidance for those games, and this is gonna be something that is gonna make a lot of money. And this is how you make games, apparently, if you want to be successful. A lot of other studios should take note. Even though I'm still having some hesitancy, I don't know what Sweetbaby Inc., the consultancy firm that's known for pushing politics into video games, they opened up a Square Enix page. They seem to be working on some games that are coming out in the future. Hopefully it's not the sequel to Final Fantasy Rebirth. That's not something we need to see in any involvement in, but I'm just happy that Square Enix squared away and actually made a good version of the original Final Fantasy that kind of launched the franchise into the stratosphere, Final Fantasy VII, and I'm looking forward to the experience. So in the end, the fans won, and it's always a happy time that the fans win at something in the video game industry after taking so many losses with these other franchises, specifically Kill the Justice League being one of the worst iterations of the Arkham series or any sequel series, pairing closely up to The Last of Us 2, which was an utter failure as well. So it's nice to see some successes here, and I'm just here to enjoy it, and I can't wait to play it. You leave your comments, tell me what you think. Do you think the fans won with this? I do. I know we don't trust critics here, but just from the reaction and some of the images I've seen, it seems like we did win for the most part. There may be some edits, but I think the minor edits might be in line with some of the minor edits we saw in the remake, where I'm thinking, okay, it's not that shattering what they did, but I'm hoping this continues forward with the next game. So you leave your comments, like, share, and subscribe. This is Wagner Knows Why. Catch you next time.